Reading 3. From the Psychological Commentaries on the Teachings of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll, Volume 2. Birdlip, January 22nd, 1944. The Enneagram. 1. Tonight, we will begin to study the diagram called the Enneagram, or 9 diagram. This diagram is peculiar to this teaching. It is found nowhere else. When it was first given by G, he observed that several things in this system could be found in other ancient systems of esoteric teaching, but not the Enneagram. In this connection, he said that although several things in this system could be traced in the fragments remaining to us of other systems, there was no proper organization and arrangement of them, and the dependence of one thing on another could not be seen. All the parts of this system are connected together in the right order to form an organic whole, a living organism. Man and the universe are taken together. The teaching about man is related to the universe, whose child he is, and what exists in him is shown to exist in the universe. The significance of evolving man and the significance of the evolving universe, and the laws in man and in the universe are taken together as inseparable. In speaking of the Enneagram, G said that it formulated the whole of the teaching, and that the more a man could read its meanings, the more deeply he understood the work. On one occasion, asked what it was all about, G said that it represents the union of the law of 3, or law of the Trinity, and the law of 7, or law of the octave. Let us remind ourselves that the law of 3 states that in every manifestation, 3 forces, active, passive, and neutralizing, must take part, and that they are the creative forces which create the different orders of the worlds in a descending scale, increasing the number of laws as they duplicate themselves. Let us also remember that a second law exists, the law of 7, which relates to the order of manifestation. If there be a creative force, there must also be order in creation, or all will be chaos. The interaction of these 2 laws in such a way that one does not hinder or stifle the other, and so that all possibilities are attained, is represented in the Enneagram, but at our stage we can only expect a first reading of it. Its construction is as follows. A circle is divided into 9 equal parts. The number 7 is then divided into 1, giving the result 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7 as a recurring period. Lines are drawn connecting these numbers 1 to 4, etc. You will notice several things. First, the diagram is symmetrical. Second, 3 numbers are left out. 3, 6, and 9. All multiples of 3. Third, you will notice that the lines cross. One crossing point is exactly in the midline. The other 2 are lateral and equidistant from it. Let us next indicate by arrows the directions represented by the lines. The starting point of the Enneagram is the figure 1, for the Enneagram is a moving diagram and represents movements of things in 2 ways. I will indicate only 2. Starting from 1, there is a movement to 4 along the 1 to 4. Then from 4 to 2, across the area where 3 should occur but is missing. Then, from 2, a movement goes right across to 8, down to 5, and then across the area where 6 should be, to 7. Then the movement returns right across the figure to 1, but in so doing crosses the line to 8. This is one movement. The second movement is outside on the circumference, from 1 to 2 to 4 to 5 to 7 to 8. Let us set alongside the number 1 the note re, and alongside 2 the note mi, and alongside 4 the note fa. This will be sufficient for the moment in order to see the 2 movements I am indicating. You will see that there is a movement within the Enneagram from 1 to 4, and then to 2, that is 1, 4, 2. And there is a possible movement by way of the circumference from 1 to 2 and to 4, that is 1, 2, 4. Let us put the remainder of the octave notes round the circumference, ending with do at the top point. The diagram should now be like this. Let us indicate the possible motion on the circumference from point re to point mi, to fa, to sol, etc., by curved arrows indicating a clockwise movement. The other crisscross movements taking place within the Enneagram are already indicated by 6 arrows, 1 on each of the 6 lines, joining the figures on the circumference in the order of 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. The number obtained by dividing 7 into 1. Now let us reflect on this extraordinary diagram, because unless we grasp something of its mystery, we will take it as we take everything else. This diagram must fall on higher parts of centers. When you feel something is extraordinary, strange, and so on, it means that it falls on higher divisions of centers. All the work should fall there. Let us consider one of the great teachings of the work. The work does not teach that we live in a dying, but in an evolving universe. Everything is growing in its own time and scale. The moon, the earth, the sun are all growing in colossal periods of time compared with our little time and scale. Everything created is trying to reach its creator. Let us take an apparently trivial, but I think a legitimate comparison. The universe, starting from unity, is stretched out like a piece of elastic. It seeks to return to its source, to eliminate the tension. I could say here many things about the chemical table of elements and their various tendencies to combine with each other in order to reach equilibrium. Now, the ray of creation represents the absolute as one, and all levels of creation proceeding from it as numbers, namely 3, 6, 12, and so on. In the esoteric school of Pythagoras, it was said that all things are numbers. Have you ever thought of the relations of numbers? You can multiply or divide them. What does division mean? Let us suppose that the number 3 desires to return into 1. Imagine it striving to pass into 1, that is, absolute unity. Mathematically, this is represented as 1 being divided by 3. Now, if 3 tries to pass into 1 so as to be absorbed in it, and all creation seeks to return to its source and to be absorbed by it, then what happens? divide 3 into 1. 3 into 1 goes 0.3 times, that is, into 10, and leaves 1 over. Again, it goes 3 times and leaves 1 over. So 3 into 1 equals 0.3, recurring endlessly. And the whole ray, taken as 7 notes, trying to find solution and peace, passes into absolute unity as 7 into 1. 7 into 10 goes 1 and 3 over. Into 30 goes 4 and 2 over, and into 20 goes 2 and 6 over, into 60 goes 8, etc., etc. So you see that 3 and 7 cannot return to 1, whereas 1 is in all numbers. 1 is in 3, but 3 cannot get back to 1, and so on. The universe is built on numbers, as Pythagoras taught, but one thing must be added. All creation, all the created universe, at whatever level or number, seeks to return to its source, that is, seeks to enter into 1, or unity. The Trinity, or 3, seeking to do this is eternal because it always reproduces itself and so remembers itself. The number 7 is also eternal, but in time, and so not in the same sense. It loses itself and finds its being in a repetition of what is not itself, in the constant repetition of 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. Since this diagram is about man and his possibilities, it begins with 7 and the properties of this number in relation to unity. Studying the properties of 7 in relation to unity, we find that they are given by the number 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. This by itself means nothing, but given the framework of the Enneagram, we find it gives rise to an extraordinary relation, extraordinary because of the symmetrical diagram. Nothing appears symmetrical about the number 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7 by itself. The only thing one can say about the number is that it repeats itself endlessly in terms of the decimal system, and also contains no 3 or multiple of 3 in it. This is remarkable. The number has also other remarkable properties. But what it is necessary to grasp is that the created universe seeks by evolution to return to its source, and that all things crave this satisfaction or fulfillment. Everything is deprived incomplete as a separate creation, and everything seeks completion. An atom, a man, a planet, a sun, a galaxy. In regard to absolute unity, we are not merely halved or quartered, but under 48 dividing forces. But I give this reflection for those who have already sought to meditate on the ray. Next time we will speak of the Holy Ghost within the Enneagram, whereby it is made living. So far we have begun to speak of the series, ray, me, etc. That is the law of 7, and of the inner relation of the notes.